Hello friends and welcome to Malhotra's IAS. So we are in the 8th week of our current affairs series, right? So follow all those who are joining us for the first time. So we every week we present current affairs from various subjects to you from Monday to Saturday, okay? Starting with polity, going to economy on Tuesday, then geography and environmental related current affairs on Wednesday, and Thursday I take history and your international relations related important current affairs, right? So I have already discussed many important topics related to your IR and history that will be useful in your prelims as well as your mains perspective, right? So the four topics of discussion for today are going to be these, okay? So first of all, we'll be discussing the dynamics of India Nepal relations, right? So recently in the first week of April, we saw that the newly elected Prime Minister of Nepal visited India, right? So the visit becomes important, the relations become very important, right? In that context, we are going to discuss in detail the India Nepal relations for your GS3 GS2 IR part, or Punjab PCS mein you can say GS2 again IR part. This is very important, right? Then the issue of NATO's enlargement, it has been in news since Russia declared war on Ukraine. Okay, so that is why in the Thursday first week itself I covered the Ukraine Russia war issue, and there I also discussed the role of NATO in this war, right? But now there have been some recent developments with regard to that, so we will discuss those recent developments as well as re-revise the issues or the concerns of Russia that have led to this war, and everything related to NATO and Russia, right? Then we'll move to the latest launched global center for traditional medicine, right? WHO's center has been launched in Gujarat. We'll discuss about that. Finally, contributions of Birsa Munda, a historical important personality, very important for your prelims, UPSC as well as state PCS. So we'll move on to that topic in the last section of this video, right? Now let's begin our discussion. So before I start the discussion, this is an important news item, or the an important initiative of our institution. So since the prelims of many exams are approaching, especially the UPSC prelims is approaching in June, so we have designed this all India free prelims mock test series for you people. So it will contain 3 tests, comprehensive tests including GS as well as CSAT questions, okay? So you can practice, you can hone your prelims skills by taking these tests. These are going to be very useful, designed by our eminent faculties here. So do take these tests. To register for these tests, you just have to call this number or you can register on this link, right? So don't miss this opportunity. Do take these tests. These are going to be very useful for your prelims perspective, right? Now let's begin with the first topic of today's discussion, that is India Nepal, right? So why in news? As I have already told you that because the newly elected Prime Minister of Nepal, that is Sher Bahadur Devua, he visited India in the first week of April. From April 1 to 3 he was here in India, and many agreements were signed during his visit to India. So that is why this topic becomes important for this year's examination, right? He was sworn into the power in Nepal just in July 2021, right? So it is his first major foreign visit to any country, right? So that shows the significance that Nepal lies on its relationship with India. ठीक है, सबसे पहले वो इंडियन प्राइम मिनिस्टर से ही मिलने आ रहे हैं अपने इलेक्ट होने के बाद. So that shows that Nepal values its relationship with India a lot. So that is how this visit is very important for India also, right? Now, before we begin the discussion, I want you all to see the geographical location of Nepal, right? Nepal borders 5 states of India. ठीक है, इस पे prelims में आराम से question बन सकता है in your state PCS, in your UPSC prelims, right? So must remember this: Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal and Sikkim. So you can remember this with a mnemonic, that is SUBU. S for Sikkim, U for Uttarakhand, B for Bihar, B again for Bengal, and U again for UP, right? So this is going to be very helpful. बहुत बार प्रीलिम्स में ऐसे क्वेश्चंस पूछे जाते हैं. बांग्लादेश के साथ भी कितनी स्टेट्स बॉर्डर कर रही हैं, क्वेश्चन आ सकता है. भूटान के साथ कौन सी स्टेट्स बॉर्डर कर रही हैं, क्वेश्चन आ सकता है, राइट? नेपाल के साथ कौन सी बॉर्डर कर रही है, these 5 states, and they have been, you know, they are very easy to learn if you learn this mnemonic, right? Do remember this, and do remember the map also. You can use this map in your answers, right, to fetch more marks. मेंस के आंसर्स में ऐसे मैप्स आपको बनाने चाहिए to just represent your answer in a better way, right? Now, before we begin on the outcomes of the visit, we will first discuss the basics of India-Nepal relationships. ठीक है, आज तक जितने भी topics हैं, I have already covered India-Australia relations, I have covered India-Japan relations, right? So बहुत सारी countries मैं already cover कर चुकी हूँ. Now this again is a very important relationship, India-Nepal relationship. Southeast Asia में, South Asia में, this is a significant relationship, especially in the neighborhood of India that we enjoy. So we will discuss some basics of this relationship in brief, and then we'll move on to the outcomes of the visit, right? Now, the basic underlining, idea of the relationship of the two countries is that both share a roti-beti relationship, right? What does roti mean? That jobs and career-wise opportunities are very much, provided by both countries in each other's territories. And many Nepalese people, they come to India to seek jobs of different kinds. Likewise, Indians also move to Nepal for businesses, for setting up their businesses and creating jobs there and getting economic value from that relationship, right? So roti basically means the economic ties that the two countries hold between themselves, right? Then the beti relationship is the referring to the matrimonial ties that the two countries have. So देखिए, नेपाल is a bordering country to India. So बहुत सारी border villages में आपस में matrimonial alliances बहुत prominent है नेपाल में since the long time in history, right? So that is why this relationship is linked with these two very important pillars, that is your economic pillar and the social pillar, where people to people connectivity is very strong between the two countries, right? So that is why this is the basic pillar of the basic foundation of the relationship of the two countries, right? इसीलिए ये keyword है that you have to remember with regard to India and Nepal. In every question related to Nepal and India, you can mention this term, right? Now let's begin with the first pillar of the relationship that the two countries share. The first discussion will be on the idea of historical links. So you see, India was under the colonial rule, right? So at that time, Britishers also attacked Nepal, right? And in 1820s, the attack was held. In 1816, you can say there was a war between, which is known as the Anglo-Nepal War, right? As a consequence of this war, a treaty was signed. अब अगर आपने, if you have read modern history, you will tell me in the comment box what is the name of the treaty that was held between the British and the Nepalese authorities at that time, right? According to that treaty, okay, lot of areas of Nepal were subsumed by the Britishers within their own empire. तो आज का जो आप उत्तराखंड देख रहे हैं, हिमाचल प्रदेश देख रहे हैं, सिक्किम देख रहे हैं, वो बहुत सारे एरियाज जो हैं they were acquired after this war itself, ठीक है? So that treaty that was written or signed after this war, that was instrumental in getting those areas into present day India or that time's British India. ठीक है, तो तब से we are sharing a connect with Nepal since the British time. They were also, they had to face the British powers. India also was subject to the colonial atrocities, you can say, right? So that is the one basic link. Then after the independence, right, after India's independence and Nepal's formation of a country in 1974, first time diplomatic ties were established between the two countries, right? For the first time diplomatic level पे ties were established, ठीक है? So that is where the beginning of the formal ties of India Nepal happened, right? Now since none of you have replied on what is the treaty that was signed after this war, so I'll just tell you that it was the Treaty of Segoli, Treaty of Segauli. यू मस्ट नो सच ट्रीटीज. इस पे यूपी प्रीलिम्स में ऐसे क्वेश्चन बन जाते हैं कि कौन सी ट्रीटी कौन से वॉर के बाद साइन हुई थी. एंग्लो भूटान वॉर लेड टू विच ट्रीटी, एंग्लो नेपाल वॉर लेड टू विच ट्रीटी. सो द ट्रीटी हेयर इज दिस ट्रीटी ऑफ सेगोवली, ठीक है? सो ऐसी ट्रीटीज याद कीजिए. दिस इज वेरी मच देयर इन योर बेसिक हिस्ट्री बुक्स दैट वी रिकमेंड यू टू रीड, राइट? So that is how the historical links between the ties between the two countries began, right? Now moving on the geostrategic significance of Nepal for India, right? So you see, as I've shown you in the map, Nepal is very, strategically located for India, right? See here we have a big power, that is China. Here you see we have India, right? So now Nepal acts as a buffer state between India and China, ठीक है? So when our it acts as a boundary from any threats that we may face from China from this border, ठीक है? यहाँ पे अब हमें security arrangements बहुत कम करनी पड़ती हैं because we have Nepal in between that will deal with China and we do not face any direct threat from China. जबकि इस एरिया में देखें या आप इस एरिया में देखें, we have to have strong military presence and good military infrastructure to be able to fight any attack by China because we have direct border with China. China directly आके हम पे कभी भी attack कर सकता है, like they did in 1960s 70s also, right? So we are always our security is threatened in these areas by the presence of direct border with China, ठीक है? But here, because of Nepal being a buffer state between us and China, we are very much secure from this part of the border. जब तक नेपाल बहुत चाइना फ्रेंडली नहीं हो जाता या बहुत ही एंटी इंडिया नहीं हो जाता, till that time our this border is very secure. We need not put lot of military money into military or defense to secure this side of our border, right? So that is why the location of Nepal is very important for us, right? So that also forms a very important pillar of the relationship with two countries. India will never like to let go Nepal in any other country's fold or lose any friendship ties with Nepal because India has security concerns related to the geostrategic location of Nepal, right? So that is the second contact of importance. The third point of importance is the political ties between the two countries. Now see, the political level of relationship has been little dicey, ठीक है? तो you see till 2014-15 the relationship was very healthy. India helped Nepal in the formation of their constitution, in setting up a sovereign government, ठीक है? इससे पहले बहुत देर तक नेपाल में monarchy exist करती थी. It was with India's help that they could transition to a constitutional form of elected form of government. Okay, democracy could be established there, a republic form of government could be established there, replacing the monarchy, right? Now, but what is happening is after 2015 you can say the relationships started deteriorating, ठीक है? उसमें क्या हुआ था उस टाइम पे? India imposed an economic blockade. India imposed an economic blockade on Nepal, ठीक है? तो नेपाल पेट्रोलियम प्रोडक्ट्स के लिए बहुत डिपेंडेंट है ऑन इंडिया. इन दैट ईयर वी काइंड ऑफ stopped providing those products to Nepal, because of which Nepal's economy and society suffered a lot. So since then the negative sentiment among the Nepalese population started increasing, and this was exploited by the political parties in Nepal, right? So political parties ने anti India slogans use करके एंटी इंडिया नेशनलिज्म नेपालीज के अंडर प्रमोट करके अपने वोट्स गैदर करने की कोशिश की, ठीक है? तो दैट इज व्हेन द पॉलिटिकल रिलेशनशिप saw a downgrade. So you see this person, he is PM Oli, the former PM of Nepal. He was a very China centric man. So our relationships at that time with Nepal were dicey at the political level. So more favor was given to the Chinese side rather than to India. So now this new PM has come into picture. So we are hoping that we will share a healthy relationship with Nepal now again, like we used to have in the previous times, right? So you can say political ties have been strong for a long time, but there are issues also. Anti-India card is very much used by the opposition parties in Nepal. Whenever anyone is in opposition in Nepal, they try to use that anti-India card to win maximum votes. जैसे इंडिया में anti-Pakistan slogans are used to win votes, in the same fashion in Nepal they use anti-India sentiments to win votes, right? Now the fourth level of the relationship is your economic partnership. Now economic partnership is also a very important pillar, especially for Nepal. ठीक है, कैसे? You see in this map that Nepal is a landlocked country. ठीक है जी, इसका entire border is covered with India on one side and China on one side. Now it cannot interact with any other country or any other part of the world except by going through India or China. ठीक है, so it is completely dependent on India and China to be having any kind of interactions with the rest of the world. ठीक है, so now India has helped Nepal a lot since the previous times, since the 1980s, like we are talking. India had provided its important port cities, access to these port cities to Nepal. ठीक है, in ports के through Nepal used to trade with the rest of the world, right? So because it does not have its own ports, so it used to use India's ports to trade with the rest of the world. Also majority of Nepal's trade, 60-70% जो trade है नेपाल का, that is with India itself. ठीक है, it's a small country, it produces small amount of products and they sell it to India itself, right? So that is how in the economic relationship of Nepal with India is highly significant, right? Because of first its location, right? Firstly, because of its location as a landlocked country. Also 60-70% of its trade with India is with India only. Then India provides lot of developmental assistance. ठीक है, because you see these countries, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, all these neighboring countries of India are very small nations. They require funds for their development, for their infrastructure development, like roads, for building health infrastructure, for building schools, right? So they require a lot of money to do that, right? That is where India helps. India provides this developmental assistance also. It gives line of credit, यानी कि interest पे, ब्याज पे, we give them money to finance their developmental projects also, right? In that way India has been helping. Then see, Nepal has lot of rivers running through its territory, right? So India is also helping them in building the hydroelectric power projects. ठीक है जी, जैसे डैम्स बिल्ड करने में एंड देन रनिंग दीज हाइड्रोइलेक्ट्रिक प्रोजेक्ट्स, इंडिया इज वेरी मच हेल्पिंग नेपाल. वन ऑफ द प्रोमिनेंट हाइड्रोइलेक्ट्रिक प्रोजेक्ट हैज़ बीन द अरुण प्रोजेक्ट, राइट? इसके बारे में आप सुनते रहे होंगे प्रीवियस टाइम्स में, जो थोड़े टाइम से प्रिपरेशन कर रहे हैं. अरुण हाइड्रोइलेक्ट्रिक प्रोजेक्ट बिटवीन इंडिया एंड नेपाल इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, right? And then the final economic interaction happens in the way of remittances. Remittances क्या होते हैं? The Nepali people who are living in India and earning in India, they send back their earned money to their families, right? So that is how they are contributing into the economy of Nepal by being employed in India, right? So these remittances also play a lot of economic role in the Nepal's economy. So that is how also the economic partnership is very important, especially for Nepal. ठीक है, इंडिया के लिए इनकी लोकेशन बहुत सिग्निफिकेंट है, right? नेपाल के लिए इसके economic ties are very significant. Not just economic ties, we will see the other set of relations are also very important for these two countries, right? So the next set of important area of cooperation is the security engagement, right? Now you see, here we have Nepal. So you see this border is very porous. पोरस यू मीन कि अब देखिए सारे बॉर्डर पे तो यू कैन नॉट डिप्लॉय मिलिट्री, सारे बॉर्डर पे देर आर नॉट इवन फेंसेस, इवन इफ देर इज फेंसेस, सो यू नो दीज स्मगलर्स ट्रैफिकर्स दे हैव टेक्निक्स टू कट ऑफ दोज फेंसेस एंड एंटर इनटू ईच अदर्स बॉर्डर. नेपाल में से यहाँ आते हैं, इंडिया में से वहाँ जाते हैं. सो दैट इज वाई दीज पोरस बॉर्डर्स between the two countries creates lot of security issues which the two countries are working on to resolve, right? जैसे कि drug trafficking is high through this border, through this porous border, right? Then the issue of northeast insurgents taking shelter into Nepal after creating some ruckus in India, right? The insurgency and the insurgents, right? They pose the next set of challenge. Finally, we also see the lot of infiltration of terrorists from the Nepalese borders. अब देखिए नेपाल का border is so heavily guarded by India. So what did they do is they first enter Nepal and then they try to enter into India, because India और नेपाल का border is highly flexible. So they misuse this opportunity to enter into India. So lot of issue यहाँ पे है, but both the countries are cooperating with each other to manage their security properly, right? Finally, the issue of fake currency. ठीक है, lot of fake currency is being generated in Nepal and pushed into India. So इस वजह से भी हमारी इकोनॉमिक मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक स्टेबिलिटी पे बहुत इम्पैक्ट आता है, right? So that is also a major threat to India. So that is why these 4 key security threats are very serious for both the countries, but both the countries are working with each other, cooperating with each other to handle these issues. जैसे नेपाल ने बहुत सारे नेपाल provides our police access to their territory to grab criminals. ठीक है, पुलिस से भी बहुत सारे क्रिमिनल्स भाग के नेपाल में जाते हैं. बहुत ही प्रोमिनेंट बाबाज भी दे हैड ट्राइड टू रन टू नेपाल आफ्टर कमिटिंग क्राइम्स इन इंडिया. सो दैट इज वेयर दे हेल्प अवर पुलिस, राइट? वैसे ही नॉर्थ ईस्ट इंसर्जेंट्स को भी पकड़ने में नेपाल ने बहुत हेल्प की है हमारी, राइट? So in that way these trafficking illegal activities are being handled by the two states. So that is why this security relationship is also very important for the two countries, right? The next set of cooperation is in the field of disaster management. So देखिए Nepal is located on a difficult territory, so they face issues like earthquake, they face issues like floods. बहुत ज़्यादा flooding होती है, जो आप कोसी flooding बिहार में देखते हैं, that also impacts Nepal also. ठीक है, recently there was an earthquake also in Nepal, right? So and both the times, during all the adverse times, India tries to help Nepal in every way possible. Operation Maitri was launched in this earthquake scenario to provide assistance to Nepal. ठीक है, relief going on, right? So that means they have direct people to people ties in marriage terms, in economic terms, right? So religious tourism is also very high between the two countries, right? Finally, in the multilateral spheres also we are cooperating. Multilateral मतलब जैसे आप multilateral bodies देखिए या groupings देखिए like SAARC. Through this, now we will start the actual finance their infrastructure, to finance their health sector, to finance their education, to finance development of hydroelectricity, right? So in all these areas they require funding and technical know-how, that how to use their resources to generate wealth out of it, right? And that is where your India is helping this nation. So the underlining fact of the cooperation is developmental cooperation. तो आप देखिए जितने भी agreements होंगे that will be focused on creating development in Nepal. ठीक है, तो first set of agreement was in the railway sector. तो देखिए बहुत सालों से इंडिया ने बहुत देर से ये 35 किलोमीटर्स लॉन्ग क्रॉस बॉर्डर रेल लिंक जो है नेपाल, बिहार, जयनगर और कुर्था के बीच में एस्टैब्लिश करने के लिए इंटेंट शो किया है, बट दिस हैज़ नॉट बीन ऑपरेशनलाइज्ड येट, ठीक है। अभी तक ब्यूरोक्रेटिक डिलेस की वजह से इस लिंक को, इस रेलवे लिंक को इंडिया और नेपाल के बीच में चलाया नहीं जा पाया था, राइट। सो नाउ दैट कमिटमेंट हैज़ बीन मेड कि इसको कैसे भी करके ब्यूरोक्रेटिक डिलेस को कम किया जाएगा एंड दिस लिंक विल बी ऑपरेशनलाइज्ड, right? So in the railway sector they are going to operationalize the Jayanagar कूर्था रेलवे लिंक. दीज टर्म्स आर इम्पॉर्टेंट. अगर इस साल ही नेपाल पे कोई क्वेश्चन आया, यू कैन मेंशन दीज पॉइंट्स. इन पे शॉर्ट नोट बना के रख लीजिए. जस्ट दिस पॉइंट, दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, राइट. सो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव डिलेज को रिड्यूस करके ये रेल लिंक को ऑपरेशनलाइज किया जाएगा. सेकेंड, ऑल्सो टेक्निकल कोऑपरेशन. जैसे मैंने आपको कहा कि नेपाल को सिर्फ पैसा ही नहीं चाहिए, दे ऑल्सो नीड द नो हाउ कि कैसे काम करना है, टेक्नोलॉजी कैसे यूज़ करनी है, कौन सी टेक्नोलॉजी यूज़ करनी है, ऑल दोज मैटर्स. दैट इज़ वेयर ऑल्सो इंडिया विल हेल्प नेपाल इन दी टेक्नोलॉजिकल फील्ड इन रेलवे सेक्टर. ठीक है जी. फिर रेलवे सेक्टर में ये दो इम्पॉर्टेंट agreements have been signed to operationalize this rail link and to provide technical assistance to Nepal in railway sector, right. Now the next set of cooperation is in the power sector. Again, as I told you कि बहुत hydroelectric potential है with Nepal, but they do not have the money, the know-how to utilize that potential, right. So that is where India will be helping. India's Sulu corridor, this is again a very important keyword. Sulu corridor built करने में help करेगा, जिसके अंडर 90 किलोमीटर long electric transmission line will be established connecting Tilla to Mirchia. ठीक है, सिर्फ ये याद रखिए, सुलू कॉरिडोर है, विल बी कनेक्टिंग टिल्ला टू मिर्चिया थ्रू अ इलेक्ट्रिसिटी ट्रांसमिशन लाइन. ठीक है, तो उनके पास इलेक्ट्रिसिटी अगर प्रोड्यूस भी हो रही है, आर दे एबल टू सेल इट टू, सेंड इट टू ऑल द पार्ट्स ऑफ द कंट्री. सो उसके लिए ट्रांसमिशन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर होना बहुत ज़रूरी है, एंड दैट इज़ वेयर इंडिया विल हेल्प देम बिल्ड दिस सोलू कॉरिडोर सो दैट दे कैन कनेक्ट द एरिया ऑफ टिल्ला टू मिर्चिया थ्रू द ट्रांसमिशन लाइन. ठीक है, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. सुलू कॉरिडोर यू हैव टू रिमेंबर, राइट. देन अगेन इंटरनेशनल स्फीयर में दे आर प्रॉमिसिंग टू कोऑपरेट. जैसे कि ये इंडिया लेड इंटरनेशनल सोलर अलायंस है. अगर आपने बेसिक्स पढ़े हैं, ISA के बारे में पढ़िए, प्रीलिम्स में भी क्वेश्चन आ सकता है. इंडिया इज द बेसिक फाउंडिंग मेंबर ऑफ ISA, स्पीयर हेड्स द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ सोलर अलायंस. ठीक है, तो इसीलिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है दैट नेपाल हैज़ शोन इट्स इंटेंशन टू जॉइन दिस अलायंस. ठीक है, तो इंडिया की सिग्निफिकेंस ऑन इंटरनेशनल लेवल विल राइज, राइट. Now the next set of cooperation will be in the sector of petroleum products. ठीक है, Indian Oil Corporation and Nepal Oil Corporation, they will be working on ensuring regular supplies. As I told you, Nepal is very much dependent on India for petroleum products. तो regular supply petroleum products की होना बहुत ज़रूरी है. That is why this agreement has been signed between the institutes, agencies of the two countries to ensure regular supply of petroleum products to Nepal. राइट, इन सब का शॉर्ट नोट बना के रखिए. दिस विल बी वेरी यूजफुल फॉर यू टू राइट गुड आंसर्स इन योर मेंस पार्ट, राइट. देन अगेन वही देखिए, हाइड्रो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी प्रोजेक्ट्स बनाने के लिए यू नीड टू हैव डैम्स, गुड डैम्स, right. So that is where this dam, Pancheshwar multi-purpose dam, this has been talks since 1996 I mean, right. So तब से ये इसके बारे में discussion चल रही है that we need to set it up, but this has not been realized yet. So now both sides have agreed to finalize, early finalization of the project for सेटिंग अप पंचेश्वर मल्टीपर्पज प्रोजेक्ट. ठीक है, तो हाइड्रो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी के फील्ड में भी दे आर वर्किंग, राइट. सो ऑल दीज पॉइंट्स यू कैन यूज इन योर आंसर्स. फाइनली द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट, ठीक है, रुपए कार्ड भी इंडिया का नेपाल में लॉन्च हो गया है. सो यू सी, रुपए कार्ड इज नथिंग बट जैसे आप वीज़ा कार्ड, मास्टर कार्ड वगैरह देखते हैं, राइट, इन दी अदर नेशंस, इन दैट वे इंडिया हैज़ ऑल्सो लॉन्च्ड इट्स रुपए कार्ड. ठीक है, तो आपको जो भी फाइनेंशियल पेमेंट्स करनी है, यू कैन यूज नाउ रुपे कार्ड ऑल्सो इंस्टेड ऑफ वीज़ा एंड मास्टर कार्ड्स टू मेक दोज फाइनेंशियल पेमेंट्स, राइट. सो दैट हैज़ बीन लॉन्च्ड ऑलरेडी इन 3 countries, that is Bhutan, Singapore and UAE. ये भी याद रखिए, this information can be asked in pre कि किस किस countries में we have रुपे कार्ड. Now this नेपाल में भी we have introduced our रुपे कार्ड. ऐसा दिखता है कुछ. यहाँ पे आप वीज़ा देख रहे होते हैं, आप अपने कार्ड्स देखिए या मास्टर कार्ड देखते हैं. These are American companies. Now we have an Indian version of these cards. They provide debit card services, credit card services, all that stuff. So that रुपे card is now been launched in Nepal also. ठीक है, तो ये भी बहुत important development है economic sector में. Do remember this, right? So बहुत ही comprehensive coverage हो गई है. अच्छे से notes बना के रखिए. They will be very helpful for you for dealing with any question related to India and Nepal, right? Now the next topic of our discussion is the enlargement of NATO. ठीक है, so सबसे पहले तो हम देख लेते हैं why is it in news again. So basically what happened is Finland and Sweden had shown their intention. कुछ दिन पहले एक news item आई थी where Finland and Sweden said that they want to join NATO. They want to become the part of NATO, right? Now Russia is not happy with this declaration or intention, so that is why Russia has warned both Finland and Sweden that they cannot join NATO in any way, otherwise they will have to face consequences. Consequences क्या होंगे? That Russia will increase its naval, military and air presence in the Baltic Sea that borders the both countries. That is very significant for both the countries. How? That we will discuss in the video ahead. But the basic issue is again some countries intending to join NATO and that is not what Russia wants. ठीक है, तो पूरा issue समझने के लिए सबसे पहले let's just briefly discuss what is NATO. वैसे तो आप सब लोगों को अभी तक पता ही होना चाहिए, but let me just tell you briefly. देखिए, Cold War began in 1945 after the end of World War I. So what was basically Cold War? It was an conflict of supremacy between the two superpowers of that time, that is USA and USSR, right? थोड़ा clearly देख लेते हैं screen पे, right? So Cold War started in 1945, you can say. It is basically the conflict between USA and USSR to establish their ideological supremacy around the world. ठीक है, ये चाहते थे कि सारे world में the idea of capitalism should gain ground. Every country should be a capitalist country, following the ideas of private property, free markets, laissez-faire, all that stuff, right? And this wanted to promote the idea of communism. ठीक है, the rule of the labor, the management by the labor, right? So that is why they were in constant conflict with each other to spread their own ideology to the entire world. ठीक है, USSR was successful in creating a red wall in the East Europe. जितनी East Europe की आप countries उस time पे जानते हैं, Romania, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, they all came under the influence of USSR, right? So उस time पे ये conflict सिर्फ ideological तक ही restricted नहीं था. There was arms race also that was going on because both countries were trying to build up their military arsenal to fight the other country. ठीक है, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा weaponry चाहिए थी दूसरे को डराने के लिए, right? And the same fashion they also form military alliances. ठीक है, military alliance का मतलब एक ऐसी grouping that will provide security to its members. ठीक है, so US led military alliance came to be known as NATO, जो अब हम पढ़ रहे हैं, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So all those members who agree to join NATO, that is led by USA, will be provided security by USA. ठीक है, and all those countries who were into the military, the military alliance that was formed by USSR, that was Warsaw Pact. Warsaw Pact. ठीक है, so these two competitive military alliances were formed. ये तो almost redundant हो गया था after 1992, you can say, when USSR was disintegrated, but NATO still exists, right? Now you see, so this is the actual condition of that time. These are the countries all that are part of your USSR, ठीक है, ये है रशिया, प्रेजेंट डे रशिया, देन पोलैंड, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, East Germany. All of these countries were part of US, Warsaw Pact. Right? All these greenish countries, they are the part of NATO. That is US-led alliance. Now, issue kya hai? This NATO is expanding into these countries that used to be the part of Russian influence. That is the Warsaw Pact. You see this map, NATO used to be this earlier, before 1990s. Now the NATO has spread even to this area. So this eastward expansion of NATO is what is causing issue for Russia. ठीक है, तो देखिए आपकी रशिया की सिक्योरिटी को बहुत थ्रेटन करती है NATO और US प्रेजेंस एट इट्स बॉर्डर्स. सो यू सी राइट, सबसे पहले आप ये देखिए कि रशिया के तरफ यूएसए आ रहा है एंड यूएसए इज द कॉम्पिटिटर ऑफ रशिया. हाउ कैन रशिया लेट इट्स कॉम्पिटिटर कम एट एंड सिट एट इट्स हेड. आप ऐसे सपोज कीजिए कि चाइनीज फोर्सेस आर डिप्लॉयड इन नेपाल. ठीक है, अभी हमने नेपाल डिस्कस किया, देयर आई शोड हाउ नेपाल इज एक्टिंग एज अ बफर फॉर इंडिया. नाउ इफ चाइनीज forces come and sit in Nepal, it will be a security threat for India. So same way USA is sitting at the border of Russia, so that is raising security threats for Russia. That is why Russia declared a war on Ukraine when it showed the signs of joining NATO, and it is also not comfortable with Sweden and Finland trying to join NATO, right? The security threat is the first threat. Second वही कि Russia has used these countries as the buffer. जैसे मैंने आपको नेपाल समझाया, is acting as a buffer between India and China, ensuring India's security. In the same manner, these East European countries, that is Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Belarus, Ukraine, and here Georgia, they act as a buffer against any kind of threats coming from वेस्टर्न बॉर्डर ऑफ रशिया. ठीक है, रशिया के पास कोई अपने माउंटेन्स भी नहीं है टू प्रोटेक्ट इट, राइट? सो इट हैज बीन यूजिंग दीज कंट्रीज टू प्रोटेक्ट इट फ्रॉम एनी वेस्टर्न इन्वेजन्स. ऑलरेडी जर्मनी ने वर्ल्ड वॉर 1 और 2 में इस पे अटैक किया था. नेपोलियन ने भी 18th सेंचुरी पे they attacked Russia from this side. Poles attacked Russia in the 17th century. Right, so Russia has been the victim of lot of attacks from this side of its border. So it has been very fragile border for Russia. So that is why they use the idea of buffer to maintain security for themselves. So all these countries are buffer countries for Russia. अब अगर ये एक एक करके NATO में enter होती रहेंगी, obviously it will create concerns for Russia. Already Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania are members of NATO. Now this Ukraine here is also, Georgia also is showing signs of becoming a part of NATO, and that is why it declared war on Russia, declared war on Ukraine, and Russia is not very happy with Sweden and Finland also saying that they want to join NATO. ठीक है. Now the third issue is the Baltic Sea. Right, I had explained this in the very first video also. I'll just briefly explain this concept again. देखिए, Russia is covered with Arctic Ocean in the north. Right, Russia is also covered with Siberian cold desert on its east. Right, it is covered with steppe grasslands on its south. Right, so Russia आपके 3 साइड से already covered है. Arctic Ocean, Siberian cold desert, steppes. Right, so the only area for Russia to access the outside world is this western border. ठीक है, और इस वेस्टर्न बॉर्डर में भी they have Black Sea in the south west and Baltic Sea in the northwest. You can see in this map that they need to access the outside world. ठीक है, मेडिटेरेनियन अटलांटिक तक पहुंचने के लिए they have only these 2 sources. Now it cannot let any एंटी रशिया फोर्स टू गेट स्टेशनड इन दीज एरियाज. ठीक है, इसीलिए इसने क्राइमिया एनेक्स किया था, इसीलिए इसने यूक्रेन पे अटैक किया, नाटो को ज्वाइन नहीं करने दे रहा. इसीलिए अब स्वीडन और फिनलैंड के कंटेक्स्ट में भी इट इज़ वरिड बिकॉज इट डज नॉट वांट बाल्टिक सी टू कम अंडर द इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ नाटो एंड रशिया टू लूज इन्फ्लुएंस इन दैट एरिया और इन द ब्लैक सी एरिया. So all these issues are related. Baltic Sea and Black Sea are very important for Russia. It cannot let any other country to have influence in these areas. That is why also Russia is attacking Ukraine and now threatening Finland and Sweden, right? सो बेसिकली रशिया का थ्रेट यही है कि रशिया को इंसर्कल किया जा रहा है, राइट? रशिया के आसपास नाटो की मिसाइल्स पड़ी हैं, right? You see, if China deploys missiles in the Nepalese territory, targeted against India, और भूटान में आके अपने vehicles and missiles they position, it will be a big security threat for Russia, so for India I mean. So in the same manner, the presence of NATO forces and US forces is a threat for Russia. That is why वो ये सब कर रहा है जो आप presently देख रहे हैं वर्ल्ड में, यूक्रेन के साथ वॉर, स्वीडन or Finland or any other country के against, threats they launch whenever they show any intention of joining this alliance, right? Okay, so the third topic of today's discussion is WHO's center in Gujarat, right? WHO has established or launched its global traditional medicine center in Jamnagar, Gujarat. ठीक है, बहुत important है प्री स्पेसिफिक पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से, ग्लोबल ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन सेंटर, ठीक है? ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन क्या होता है, जैसे कि आपकी होम्योपैथी, आयुर्वेदा, योगा, सिद्धा, यूनानी, ऑल दीज आर ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन जो हमारी ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज से दैट वी डिराइव, राइट? सो उसमें रिसर्च प्रमोट करने के लिए ये सेंटर को इस्टेब्लिश किया जा रहा है, राइट? सो दैट इज व्हाट आवर पीएम मोदी हैज सेड, दैट इट विल usher in a new era of traditional medicine, ठीक है, राइट? देखिए, ऐसा सेंटर एस्टैब्लिश करने की ज़रूरत ही क्या है? सबसे पहले वी वांट टू प्रमोट द आइडिया ऑफ मेडिकल प्लूरलिज्म. मेडिकल प्लूरलिज्म, अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कीवर्ड, यू मस्ट यूज दिस इन आंसर्स, ठीक है? हम नहीं चाहते कि सारे इलाज सिर्फ एक तरीके की मॉडर्न मेडिसिन से ही होने चाहिए. बहुत सारी डिसीजेज है दैट कैन बी हील्ड इन ट्रेडिशनल वेज, इन नेचुरल वेज, राइट? सो दैट इज वेयर ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन कैन हेल्प. किसी को डिप्रेशन की बीमारी है, यू नीड नॉट गिव देम मॉडर्न मेडिसिन ऑलवेज, यू नीड टू गिव देम गुड एनवायरमेंट वेयर दे कैन वर्क, राइट? दैट इज प्रोवाइडेड बाय आवर ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन, राइट? बहुत सारी चीज़ों का इलाज होता है, मेडिसिन, नेचुरल थेरेपी, योगा, राइट? इन दैट वे वी नीड मेडिकल प्लूरलिज्म, ठीक है? सिर्फ एक ही तरीका नहीं होना चाहिए बीमार को ठीक करने का. देयर शुड बी मल्टीपल वेज इन विच अ पेशेंट कैन बी ट्रीटेड, एंड टू हैव दोज मल्टीपल वेज वी नीड टू प्रमोट ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन. इतनी सारी टाइप्स है हमारे पास, आयुर्वेदा है, योगा है, सिद्धा है, यूनानी है. व्हाई नॉट प्रमोट देम ऑल टू क्रिएट अ मेडिकल प्लूरिस्ट आइडिया, राइट? सो उसके लिए ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. ये सेंटर विल सपोर्ट द रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट एक्टिविटी इन ऑल दीज मेडिसिन, ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन एरियाज, एंड हेल्प प्रमोट दीज एरियाज. सो फॉर दैट दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. ऑल्सो फॉर इंडिया इट विल ऑल्सो प्रमोट मेडिकल टूरिज्म, ठीक है? बहुत सारे टूरिस्ट हैं जो इंडिया में ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन के लिए आते हैं, राइट? केरला हैज़ बिकम अ हब ऑफ ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन, आयुर्वेदा और योगा का स्पेशली, राइट? सो टू प्रमोट medical traditional tourism also, this center will help. This will provide the research inputs to promote this sector, right? Again, creating jobs in India's economy, and contributing to the growth of India, right? So in that way also this center is very highly important for India. So ye all points you can use in your mains answer writing. So basically traditional medicine hota kya hai, that has been defined by WHO. You can always use this definition to write your answers. So basically it says that traditional medicine is the sum total of all the knowledge and skills and practices that are indigenous मतलब built here within our country itself, ठीक है? Not derived from outside, but we have been living with these skills for long. जैसे आपने अगर Indus Valley civilization पढ़ा होगा, so in that civilization also we find the some hints or evidences of surgery, ठीक है? Child skulls मिले हैं जिसमें holes पाए गए हैं, that indicate that some kind of surgery used to exist at that time, ठीक है? सो मतलब हमारा उस टाइम से वी हैव दैट मेडिकल नॉलेज, सो व्हाई नॉट यूज दैट मेडिकल नॉलेज टू ट्रीट द पीपल? व्हाई शुड बी डिपेंडेंट ऑन द वेस्टर्न नॉलेज टू ट्रीट अवर डिसीजेस, right? Why not protect our culture, why not promote our knowledge, ठीक है? तो उस सबको ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन ही कहते हैं, जो हमारी इंडिजीनियसली डेवलप हुई हैं नॉलेज, स्किल्स और प्रैक्टिसेस, राइट? सो दैट इज बेसिकली योर ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन इज, राइट? इट कैन बी यूज टू डायग्नोस एंड ट्रीट फिजिकल एंड मेंटल इलनेसेस, फिजिकल कोई भी बॉडी रिलेटेड, मेंटल जैसे मैंने आपको बताया डिप्रेशन, sadness, all those stuff that can be treated with this traditional medicine. इंडिया में ये सब पाया जाता है, आयुर्वेदा, सिद्धा, योगा, राइट, होम्योपैथी, सोवा, रिग्पा, mainly related to Myanmar area, right? So ये सब चीज़ें इंडिया में भी at different levels they are existing, so they are very important forms of our traditional medicine, right? Now some factual information regarding this center that can be asked in the prelims examination, right? So India will provide $250 million aid to set up this center, right? This is a huge expenditure on a center. Then this center will be focusing on evidence based research, कि ऐसे ही रिसर्च ना हो जिसका कोई आउटपुट नहीं है. They will work on lot of data, and with that data they will give solution to different diseases within the traditional medicine, ठीक है? different diseases को solve करने के लिए data based evidence use करके traditional medicine के solutions they will provide. That is how this is very important, ठीक है? बाकी WTO की traditional medicine strategy भी है, जिसमें WTO is focusing on promoting the traditional medicine of various countries, ठीक है? सो उसको प्रमोट सपोर्ट करने के लिए ये सेंटर बहुत हेल्पफुल आएगा, ठीक है? जैसे इंडिया में ऑलरेडी इट इज सेड कि 65 to 70% पीपल दे आर डिपेंडेंट ऑन ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन फॉर वेरियस ट्रीटमेंट्स. WHO का खुद का डाटा ये कहता है 65 to 70% पीपल आर डिपेंडेंट, ठीक है? सो उस ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन को प्रमोट करने के लिए दिस सेंटर विल बी हाईली सिग्निफिकेंट, राइट? सो दैट वाज ऑल अबाउट दैट सेंटर. फैक्चुअल इन्फॉर्मेशन कर लीजिए प्लीज के लिए, एंड जो मैंने आपको एनालिसिस बताया दैट यू कैन यूज इन योर मेंस, ठीक है? दोनों कवर कीजिए. नाउ फाइनली बिरसा मुंडा, एन इम्पॉर्टेंट हिस्टोरिकल पर्सनैलिटी. यू माइट हैव ऑलरेडी कवर्ड इट इन द ट्राइबल रिवोल्ट्स इन योर मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री पार्ट. थोड़ा ब्रीफली डिस्कस कर लेते हैं, राइट? वाई इज इट इन न्यूज़? Firstly, because there is a new book that has been launched that is named Birsa Munda Janjatiya Nayak, ठीक है? ये इस नाम की book that has been written by Professor Alok Chakrawal, who is the Vice Chancellor of Guru Ghasidas विश्वविद्यालय ऑफ बिलासपुर, ठीक है? इन पर्सनालिटी ने ये बुक लिखी है बिरसा मुंडा पे. सो दिस बुक इज ऑल्सो इम्पॉर्टेंट. किसी भी एग्जाम में आपके स्टेट PCS में या बैंकिंग एग्जाम्स में या UPSC में भी बुक लिख के दैट जयंतिया नायक हु रोड दिस बुक, ये क्वेश्चन आ सकता है, या ऑन विच हिस्टोरिकल पर्सनालिटी दिस बुक इज बेस्ड. सो इसलिए ये फैक्चुअल इंफॉर्मेशन आपके पास होनी चाहिए, राइट? Then regarding Munda Rebellion, so Birsa Munda spearheaded basically your Munda Rebellion, a tribal rebellion that we read in history, ठीक है? इस movement को उलगुलन movement भी कहा जाता है और the Great Tumult, ठीक है? इसको Great Tumult भी कहा जाता है. Just remember this may be asked in your MCQs, right? Now ये सारा protest या revolt मुंडा ने क्यों start किया था? एक तो ब्रिटिश की जो लैंड पॉलिसीज थी, द परमानेंट सेटलमेंट सिस्टम यू कैन से, दे वर एलियनेटिंग द locals from their land, so that was not liked by these leaders, these people, so they revolted against British through these rebellions, ठीक है? उसके बाद मनी लैंडर्स और लैंडलॉर्ड्स, जिन्हें की जमींदार कहा जाता था, they were exploiting the peasantry and they were taking over their lands, so this was also causing alienation of these people, right? So they didn't want to let that happen, the alienation of land. That is why they also revolted. And finally we have also seen कि Christian missionaries बहुत आते थे उस टाइम पे, तो ट्राइबल्स को ये नहीं पसंद था कि उनके ट्रेडिशनल कल्चर को डिस्ट्रॉय किया जाए बाय एनी आउटसाइडर. दे यूज्ड टू कॉल दीज आउटसाइडर्स एज दिकूज, very important term, dikus, जो भी बाहर से आते थे, right? So with that regard also, tribals were not very happy that these people are coming and destroying their traditional culture. So that is why also, for that reason also, this rebellion happened, right? So what was the final result of this rebellion? Chota Nagpur Tenancy Act was passed. British government was forced to pass this law under which it was prohibited from transferring any tribal land from the tribal people to non tribal people. So ऐसा नहीं होगा कि बाहर के outsiders यानी कि ब्रिटिशर्स, मनी लेंडर्स या ज़मींदार्स बाहर से आएंगे और ट्राइबल्स की लैंड को एक्वायर कर लेंगे थ्रू वेरियस मीन्स, डेट ट्रैप क्रिएट करके या किसी भी तरीके से, राइट? सो दिस लैंड प्रोहिबिटेड सच एलियनेशन ऑफ लैंड फ्रॉम द ट्राइबल्स. सो इट वॉज अ वेरी big contribution to the people's movement at that time. That is why this personality is very famous, and this rebellion is also very famous because it got some concrete results from the government. ठीक है, तो ये बहुत important है, मेंस में भी आप यूज़ कर सकते हैं, आंसर राइटिंग में, एंड ऑल्सो प्रीलिम्स में तो ऑब्वियसली इसमें से क्वेश्चन कभी भी बन सकता है. सो डू मेक नोट्स ऑफ दीज टॉपिक्स, राइट? दिस इज ऑल फॉर टुडे. आई होप दीज आर हेल्पफुल. इफ यू हैव एनी डाउट्स, पोस्ट इट इन द कमेंट सेक्शन. विल रिस्पॉन्ड टू दैट. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग, राइट?